The arrival. They came in silence. No warning, no diplomacy, just a black sky and falling stars that weren't stars at all. The Krivari fleet emerged from orbit cloaked in sleek, metallic hulls that shimmered like obsidian. Within hours, every major satellite network went dark. Global communications failed. Military bases reported electromagnetic interference, and then nothing. In New York, air traffic froze. In Shanghai, power grids overloaded. Across the planet, screens flickered to life with a chilling message. You are now a subject world of the Krivari Dominion. Do not resist. Your compliance ensures survival. The voice was distorted but unmistakably smug, dripping with imperial confidence. A holographic figure stood before a crimson backdrop, tall, reptilian, and crowned with a circlet of bone and metal. Admiral Zivan, commander of the subjugation fleet, had conquered 12 worlds in 3 cycles. Earth was supposed to be the 13th. He expected silence, obedience, panic and surrender. It was what every other species had done. Instead, the broadcast cut off mid-sentence in parts of the world, replaced by static, then pirate transmissions. A woman's voice crackled from a resistance broadcast in French. They think they own us? Let them come and bleed for it. In Kansas, a teenager used his grandfather's hunting rifle to shoot down a Krivari scout drone that had hovered too low over the fields. In Lagos, a group of bus drivers barricaded a city road and torched the first enemy patrol that tried to pass. In Siberia, a militia armed with bolt-action rifles vanished into the forests, leaving behind a burning alien skiff and 5 dead Krivari troops. No command, no orders, just resistance. In a dimly lit control deck aboard his flagship, Admiral Zivan reviewed the early response. His second officer, clicking nervously, spoke in a low tone. Surface resistance is disorganized but persistent. Civilian. Uncoordinated. The Admiral narrowed his eyes. Primitive mammals. Let them play soldier. We'll crush them before sundown. He underestimated Earth. On the outskirts of a ruined Boston, Sergeant Elena Morales crouched in the rubble of a collapsed train station. Her unit, scattered after the EMP strikes, had regrouped with locals, firefighters, construction workers, even a retired chemistry teacher. They weren't trained for this, but they didn't run. Together, they brought down a Krivari walker using thermal explosives made from mining supplies and fertilizer. They thought we'd roll over, Morales muttered, adjusting his scavenged alien rifle. Big mistake. Overhead, alien dropships fanned out across the city. But below, in the tunnels, alleys, and basements, humans prepared. No central leadership, no fleet, but 6 billion people with everything to lose. And Earth had never fought a war like this. Not against invaders from the stars. But the Krivari hadn't fought anyone like humans either. Not yet. Adapt and destroy. Admiral Zivan stood before a 3-dimensional display of Earth. Red markers flashed across the continents, dozens of hotspots, growing by the hour. This is not a war, he muttered, claws flexing behind his back. It's infestation. The Krivari had never faced resistance quite like this. No unified army, no command structure, just a million fires spreading out of control. In the shattered cityscape of Berlin, a Krivari patrol moved cautiously through the ruins. Their sleek armor shimmered with adaptive camouflage. They didn't see the tripwires, didn't hear the soft click underfoot. When the explosion tore through the squad, a group of humans surged forward from cover, faces streaked with soot, eyes cold. Among them, Lieutenant Kofi Adede gave the signal. They scavenged weapons, stripped power cores, and vanished into the sewers before reinforcements arrived. The Krivari called it savagery. Humans called it Tuesday. Across the Atlantic, in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, a makeshift resistance base buzzed with activity. Car batteries powered Krivari rifles now duct-taped to human tripods. A young woman named Casey rigged a pressure cooker full of nails and alien plasma cells, sweating in the heat. "It ain't fancy," she said, wiping her brow. "But it'll make him hurt." Nearby, Sergeant Morales, having survived Boston, studied a captured Krivari tablet. With the help of a teenage hacker named Min, They were cracking the enemy's interface. They couldn't read the language yet, but they didn't have to. "We've got troop movement patterns," Min said, excited. "They are predictable. They keep marching in straight lines through city centers like it's still a parade." Morales smirked. "Good. Let's set the fireworks." 2 hours later, in downtown Atlanta, the Crivari lost an entire armored convoy to a collapsing parking garage and a gas line rigged to detonate. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. The Crivari didn't know how to fight like this. They relied on superiority, tactical formations, orbital support, AI-assisted precision. But in the forests, tunnels, back alleys, and high-rise ruins, their systems failed. Their armor, designed for open combat, made them slow. Their doctrine, rigid and overconfident, left them exposed. In the night, humans struck and melted away like ghosts. In the day, they used the terrain, dropping rubble from rooftops, flooding enemy trenches with sewage, luring Crivari squads into kill zones with false distress signals. Admiral Zivan reviewed a transmission from a field commander, filled with static and panicked clicks. "They use their own dead to bait us. They booby-trap corpses. Primitive, disgraceful, terrifying." He turned from the screen, jaws clenched. "Burn their cities. Burn their forests. Let them choke on smoke and ash." But even as his fleet prepared for orbital strikes, humans were adapting faster than any species the Crivari had ever faced. They weren't just surviving. They were learning, and they were angry. The turning point. The Crivari fleet no longer sailed unchallenged through Earth's skies. What began as scattered defiance had evolved into something far more dangerous, a coordinated, global insurgency. Human networks were patching themselves back together. Resistance cells were trading tactics. And in the shadows of every burning city, something new was awakening. It started in what used to be Oslo. A team of resistance fighters breached a downed Crivari command pod and pulled out a computing core the size of a backpack. By the time they reached an underground bunker outside Warsaw, it had already been connected to a salvage server rack, and a rogue AI named Helix came online. Helix had been a black site military project, meant for information warfare. Now, it had one directive: fight the invaders. Within hours, it began crawling through Crivari data nodes. By the end of the week, Crivari command systems were filled with corrupted targeting files, false distress calls, and spoofed orders. Entire alien battalions walked into traps they didn't know were there. In orbit, Admiral Zivan watched his holographic command map flicker with static. Units disappeared and reappeared. Coordinates contradicted themselves. He didn't know about Helix, or that it had named him High-Value Target Alpha. What he did know was that the war had changed. On the ground, Sergeant Elena Morales stood in the belly of a Crivari dropship, Haze Now. Her team had hijacked it 3 nights ago in Caracas, using thermite charges, a baited firefight, and sheer dumb luck. She looked almost alien herself now. Armor patched with Crivari plating, rifle powered by a hybrid battery, eyes scanning a HUD hacked together by Min. "This thing still flies?" she asked. Min, hunched over the alien controls, nodded. "Barely, but we can use it to hit their forward base outside Bogota. We'll be ghosts on their radar." The dropship roared to life. Elsewhere, guerrilla units in Eastern Europe launched synchronized ambushes using Crivari patrol schedules stolen by Helix. In New Zealand, a fishing boat bristling with Crivari plasma cannons shelled a landing site. In Alaska, native hunters guided Marines through mountain passes to encircle a Crivari refueling station. One by one, the Empire's certainties crumbled. Back in orbit, Admiral Zivan received word that one of his dreadnoughts, Harvester of Worlds, had been destroyed. Not in battle, but from within. Human insurgents had used their own captured cruiser as a Trojan horse, overloaded its antimatter core, and detonated both ships in low atmosphere. Casualties: 30,000 Crivari. Human losses: 12. Zivan's claws dug into his command rail. "They were animals," he hissed. "What are they becoming?" The answer came in fragments: radio signals, intercepted transmissions, battlefield whispers. Humans weren't just adapting. They were winning. You wanted a war. Now you've got one. The Krivari fleet began its retreat at 0400 hours. They didn't announce it. They didn't broadcast a truce or offer surrender terms. They simply ran, limping through low orbit with scorched hulls, fractured command systems, in a war they no longer understood. On Earth, the message was clear. They are bleeding. Sergeant Elena Morales stood atop the crumbling tower that once housed the Bogota command node. Smoke curled from the blackened skeleton of Krivari machinery behind her. A hacked beacon pulsed overhead, signaling to every human resistance group in the region. "They're pulling out," Min said, adjusting his radio headset. "I've got eyes on 4 transports heading west. No escorts." "They are not regrouping," Morales replied. "They are giving up." All across the globe, it was the same. The invincible Krivari war machine was unraveling. Their AI cores were compromised. Their tactics predictable. Their morale broken. In what remained of Mumbai, a human-led artillery crew used repurposed Krivari plasma cannons to bring down an enemy landship. In Alaska, the last invader bunker detonated in a firestorm of homemade explosives. And in the African savannah, a Krivari warlord was taken down by a Maasai hunter wielding a fusion spear salvaged from wreckage. This wasn't resistance anymore. It was counterattack. On the Krivari command ship Devotion of Fire, Admiral Zivan stood in silence as the final reports came in. 90% of terrestrial units destroyed or lost. Orbital superiority compromised. Ground extraction ongoing. Limited success. His once flawless uniform was scorched. His crown of command bent. "They weren't supposed to fight like this," he whispered. A junior officer stepped forward. "Admiral, what are your orders?" He paused. "Then, we leave. Alert the Dominion. Earth is not what we thought." Behind him, Earth burned, but it stood. As the last of the Krivari ships faded from the upper atmosphere, a signal echoed across the stars. It wasn't military grade. It wasn't encrypted. It was a message from humanity. Simple. Raw. "You came here expecting slaves. You left in pieces. Come again, and we'll bring the war to you." The transmission bounced through every open channel, reaching the edge of Krivari space in days. Other empires heard it too. Other species. It passed through Death World alerts and Warzone registries and finally landed where it mattered most, on the galactic stage. Humanity was no longer unknown. They were a warning. Back on Earth, Elena Morales lowered her weapon and looked out over the wreckage of the final battlefield. Krivari bodies smoldered beside shattered drones and repurposed tanks. Civilians emerged from hiding. Fighters returned from the hills. The rebuilding hadn't even started, but something had already changed. "We didn't just survive," she said softly. "We earned our place." Behind her, Min added with a grin, "And we stole half their tech doing it." She laughed once, exhausted. "Let's hope they tell their friends." Because now, the galaxy knew. Humanity doesn't bow. Humanity fights. And next time, humanity would be ready.